Hello guys, gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls. It's me, Big Mike, and this is a special Q&A video to celebrate my hitting of 7,000 followers on Twitter. All of these questions today come from my Twitter followers. Some are personal, and others are about subjects I am very much interested in. This video is meant to be a way for all of you to get to know me more, and for me to show my appreciation for all of your love and support. Thank you so much for all that you do. So let's jump into this video, fam. So our first question of the day comes from Taku. Do you have a favorite animal and a favorite movie? So this answer is probably going to surprise you, actually. So my favorite animal, despite the fact that I'm a duck daddy or goose boy, your interpretation may vary. Despite that fact, I'm actually a huge fan of hippos. So from a very young age, and I can't really explain why, but I've always had an interest in hippopotami. I don't know if it's because we're both big, we're both kind of, misunderstood creatures. I don't know, but I've always kind of had a thing for hippos. They're my favorite animal. And some of my favorite hippos would be George and Martha Hippopotamus, Peter Potamus from Harvey Birdman.
Hippo! Bates, you get that thing I sent you?
And the real-life Jessica the Hippo from South Africa.
I see Jessica as my daughter, 100% she.
Jessica is no ordinary hippo.
I do have a dream of owning a hippopotamus one day. It's a pipe dream, I know. Both international law and my wife both stand in my way. And while I do feel like if I try hard enough, I could find a workaround for the international law, I feel pretty confident that I'll never be able to get my wife to agree to let me have a pet hippo. A close second would be ducks and geese, respectively. I can't really choose between them. And again, as with the hippos, it kind of originates from my early childhood. Can't really explain why, but yeah. Oddly enough, they both love water. Hippos, ducks, and geese all love water. I'm not sure what the connection there is or what it says about me. But if any of you out there, are armchair psychologists, or actually are psychologists, please let me know in the comments. My favorite movie, that's a bit of a tough question. But if I had to make a choice, I would say my favorite movie is Clerks by Kevin Smith. So Clerks is a hell of a good comedy, set in a convenience store, and the writing is really good, the comedy is really good, and it really strikes home with me because I worked in a convenience store, and so I haven't worked with the public for so long. It was actually surprising to me how well Smith captured that, in his writing. How realistic, the depictions of people and how they act. Because you do have to deal with a great deal of stupidity when you work in retail, and especially at a convenience store. But even more so, it wasn't the first movie to inspire me to want to make a film. But it was the first movie to show me that I could make a film, that you don't need to be a millionaire, that you don't need to have the backing of a major production company to make a film. Smith made Clerks off of $27,000, if I remember correctly. And to this day, it's made him, I think, maybe 20 plus million. And also, it was really my introduction to both indie filmmaking and low and no budget filmmaking. Something that's really helped me out a great deal in my own content creation as well. So thank you very much, Taku, for your questions. I hope these answers are interesting. And thank you so much for all your support, for following me. And I will see you around, fam. Also, just let me add, I really love how you are a hippo, or your character design is hippo inspired. That right there, you have a special place in my heart because of that, fam. And our next question, or questions I should say, come from Lift Mariel. Tell me about the Linux penguins. So the mascot for Linux is a penguin called Tux. And if my memory serves me correctly, Tux originates from a logo contest that was held to try to find a logo to represent Linux. Now, there is not one Linux distribution, but you'll find numerous, probably hundreds, if not thousands of distributions out there of Linux. Each kind of have their own flavor, their own design. And so sometimes these distributions will kind of put their own unique spin onto Tux. And so that's just kind of the origin story of Tux, the penguin that's commonly associated with Linux. He is pretty damn adorable, isn't he? You will never find a penguin that's not a snappy dresser. That's what I like about them. And the next question she asks, you ever played any of the Penguin games on Linux? And unfortunately, I have not. There are quite a few games on Linux starring Tux. However, I haven't had a chance to check any of them out. You can find some puzzle games, you can find some Mario-inspired platformers as well, and numerous other types of games. And while I haven't had a chance to check out these games yet, I do want to thank you for giving me a good idea for a new episode or another episode of Freeloader Gaming, which is the series where I show you how and where to game legally for free. So I may in fact be checking these out soon. So thank you for that, and thank you for your questions, and thank you for being the awesome artist that you are. So, and our next question comes from my favorite streamer and my favorite content creator, Sar Khan. And I just want to plug my friend here. Not sexually, of course, but anyway, I want to plug my friend, Sar Khan. He's a phenomenal streamer. I love his streams. His streams form a essential part of my week. So be sure to give him a follow on Twitch. Also follow him on Twitter and subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. But he asked a damn good question. With companies carving this up with paywalls, removing content every day, and over half of the internet traffic being bots, what do you think the next stage of the internet will be? Will it implode and go back to simpler times like Web 1.0, or will we be subject to cyberpunk dystopia? Well, I do think that there's a possibility that it could devolve back into Web 1.0. However, I was just watching a video on this earlier from a channel I follow called the Linux Experiment. And he was talking about how the internet is kind of going through like an ad crisis at the moment. Ads just aren't paying what they used to. And so many companies may start to, put up more paywalls. So I definitely think that there is something there that this will lead to, or could lead to, a de-evolution of the internet, unfortunately. But I would say by far my biggest fear is not so much, devolving back to a 1.0, but my biggest fear is that the internet starts to become sectioned off, like by country or culture, more likely country. And, one of the things that makes the internet so great is that, anybody can come on the internet. Anybody can use the internet, no matter what your culture, your religion, your political leaning. You can share ideas, you can share thoughts with each other, and you can make friends from all over the world. In fact, most of my friends today come from different countries around the world, and I never would have met them if it wasn't for the internet. But some countries try to pass laws to kind of protect their own home, traditional media. Canada is the main example I can think of. And so if this is a growing trend, then we may see more and more section off their own piece of the internet. So instead of having like an open web like we have now, or an open internet, I should say, like we have now, you may have an American part of the internet. And there's a certain border that you can't cross, say, into a Mexican part of the internet or to a Chinese part of the internet. And that's a scary thought. I don't want to live in that world, and I don't want my children to live in that world. To be honest with you, I want the internet to be open and free where people can come together. They can share ideas. They can make friends from all over the world, because I believe in exchanging ideas. And not only that, but I believe it helps to break down barriers between different cultures. I'm not saying, the internet is a cure-all for racism or bigotry or bias or anything like that. But I believe, being able to make friends from a certain country and get to know those people and their culture can help to fight against that. And so I would say the internet becoming sectioned off or nationalized, for lack of a better term, or walled off, is a far more bigger fear of mine than just a simple de-evolution back to a Web 1.0. Though I can definitely imagine, that, creating some similar problems as well. Because social media, it's a mixed bag, but one good thing is that it brings people together from all over the world. So, but that's just kind of my thoughts on this situation. Thank you so much, Sar, for your amazing question, man. Thank you so much for all your love and support, fam. Thank you so much for keeping it real. So our next question comes from not only my best friend, not only my biggest supporter and fan, but also fellow Bird Cult member, Honk Flap. And she asks, what does your average day look like? This is an interesting question because as I'm recording this, my life is currently undergoing some major changes, some major positive changes. So I don't know how much longer this is going to stay true. But right now, my day tends to start about 3:45 in the morning. I wake up, I make my coffee. I do all the things I do to kind of get ready to get into my grind. I eat me a couple of coconut cookies. I watch me a few YouTube videos, maybe listen to some ska punk to get me pumped up for my day. Then, I start my writing process. I start, brainstorming or working on videos, video ideas, editing and such. Then I take a break at about 7. I have breakfast with my family, my wife and my daughter. I get my daughter squared away, get her to school. After that, I come back, make me a second cup of coffee, and hop back on my grind again. I'm interacting with people on Twitter, posting memes, talking to indie game devs, all the normal things you see Big Mike doing on Twitter. That's what I tend to do. But most importantly, this time tends to be my recording time as well. So I would record my videos and such at this time. And then at about 11, I'll take a break for lunch. I'll eat lunch with my wife and maybe daughter if she's home from school. Then on a good day, I'll take a nap if I don't have anything going on. But if it's a Sunday night, a Wednesday night, or a Friday night, I will be checking out Sarkon's stream. And if my pauses seem a little odd there, I'm in a different time zone, so I have to make sure I give the right time. But if Star isn't streaming or if his stream isn't that long, I'll try to grab a nap. I'll wake up at about 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'll make me a cup of special tea. It's a tea with ginger and turmeric. And depending on the time of the year, either I'll read or I'll play a game. Also, depending on the time of the week, because I do take a day or two off every week for a mental health day, I'll be watching YouTube videos. So I'm an avid reader. I try to read about 2 books a day in my reading season. However, it varies with the season. So some seasons I'm much more of a gamer, so I'll play games at this time. Also, some times of the year or some seasons, I'm a much more heavy reader. And so I'll have my nose in the books at this time. Now, so depending on the time of the year or the day of the week, I may be doing any one of those things, but the constant there is my specialty. After that, I would say about maybe 5:36, I'll have dinner with my family. And about 7, I'll start getting ready for bed because I have to be up very early in the morning. Yeah, not a very exciting life, I know, but that's Big Mike's life. But thank you so much for your question, Bestie. Thank you so much for all your love and all your support. And thank you to all the Bird Cult for everything you guys and gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls do for me. I wouldn't be here without you all, man. Just your love and support make all of this possible. And this final group of questions comes from one of my longtime supporters, Saki, or Sachi, or Sashi. Please forgive me, I'm not quite sure which is the proper pronunciation. But, and I have to thank you, man. Like, most of my questions today have came from you. So thank you so much for all of your questions. And so the first question he asks, how is everything going with you and your family, bro? Hope all is great. Thank you so much for your well wishes, fam. Thank you so much. Well, doing pretty good, actually. Things are going good. My wife and daughter, they're doing good. They're kind of getting used to the cold weather here. It's our winter season now. My daughter, she's starting elementary school next week or in a couple of days when this video is actually uploaded. So big time for my family. I'm not quite ready to see her go just yet. They grow up fast, fam. But I hope all is well with you and your family too, fam. He also asked another very good question. What is your top 5 or 10 games ever? So I would definitely say Sonic 3 and Knuckles is number 1. Number 2 and number 3 would be Super Smash Bros. Melee, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I'm not sure which would be which. But Melee for the multiplayer, Brawl for the single-player adventure mode. Number 4 would be Donkey Kong Country 2. Number 5 would be Pokemon Emerald. Number 6, Super Mario Land 2. Number 7, Doki Doki Literature Club. Number 8, Untitled Goose Game. Number 9, Brock the Investigator. And number 10, Diddy Kong Racing. And that's mostly for the Icicle Pyramid multiplayer stage. I probably couldn't tell you how many hours, weeks, months, maybe even years of my life I played that stage with my friends, just because it's so fun. And the last question he asked me is if I like football. And by football here, he means world football, or what we call soccer in the United States. And not really, actually. So I'm starting to warm up to it a bit because I live in a country where football is very popular. My wife's a huge fan of football. Many of the people, I associate with here and, throughout the internet, because I have friends all over the world, from India, from China, from Africa and Latin America. Many people love football. And so I start to warm up to it a bit. Still not very interested in it, though, to be fair. I don't watch a lot of sports nowadays either. Back when I was in America, I watched American football occasionally. I was a huge New York Giants fan, Carolina Panthers fan as well. But now I don't really get a chance to keep up with it because of the time zones. But sports in general, the thing about it is with sports, even when I was in the States, I was more of somebody who enjoyed playing as opposed to somebody who liked watching. So just to kind of sum up, I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm starting to turn around to it. And while I'm not a big sports fan in general, I, to kind of have something to talk about with people I associate with, or my friends or family, I do sometimes will catch a game every now and then, or clips of a game, or highlights or news or such. Hey, well, thank you so much for your questions, and thank you so much for all your support, man. You've been there. Well, you've been here since, 2 years now? So thank you so much for everything you've done, fam. And I will see you around. And that's going to do it for my Q&A 7,000 follower video. Thank you all so much. Thank you to all those who asked the questions, and thank you for those who are just watching the video. Thank you for all those who support me, who have followed me throughout these two plus years on Twitter. I love you, fam. I love you all so much, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. I will see you all again, and the next big milestone, I'm not going to say I'm not going to do another Q&A video, but I want to try to do something different. I want to try to do something a bit more different. But with that, we'll end it here, fam.